Good afternoon, students.
Oh wait, we haven't started yet. I know. Was it the confirmation phase?
I'm just riffing, man.
Now I'm rolling.
You gotta get used to this. There's a whole new energy here.
All right.
I'm so excited. I got
New
notes.
storyteller. Who's this?
New
All
father.
right, so ready. Ready when you
I
are.
want you to take my music out of my
Okay.
ear.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Ish.
Perfect. Okay.
This is just going on Patreon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lower stakes
For
for
now.
sure. We're going to begin now.
Now?
Yes, I'm formally welcoming all of you to Vegas by Night, our Vampire the Masquerade stream. Congratulations, everybody.
Woo.
We made it. Boom. We've done it. It took, what,
So
like
long.
3
Too
months
long.
of planning, official planning, and then before that, like months of being like, okay, maybe we could do it then.
We've talked about it for more than a year.
Yeah, I've been writing this thing for a while. I mainly wanted to bring this session together so that we could talk about some things like tone. I want to talk about some media that I thought was sort of influential when I was writing this, so that maybe you can get into the mood watching some of that. I want to talk about Chronicle Tenets, which are a feature of this game that really come into play with defining how our game is going to play and how we view the tone of this world. And I also want to talk Coterie Type. Coterie Type is that thing I've been talking to you guys about. It is basically like the in-lore version of the Tenets, which we'll get into. After that, we're going to talk about the relationship map and do some character intros just to get an idea of who these people are. Now, obviously, we're not going to give the whole goat away. But we want to at least give everyone a concept of who they're going to be playing with so that we can make a relationship map that ties these people together correctly.
Love that.
After that, we're going to look into some lore because I know a lot of us are like, what the fuck is happening in this game? And who are these people and what are those weird words you said, Magic Man? So we'll talk about some of the weird words that you're going to encounter. And then after that, I want to talk a little bit about the rules. We've been playing Orpheus for the last few months, but obviously that is not indicative of the whole vampire experience. It's very similar, but there are some things that changed with the changing of the guards and the rightful murder of White Wolf. So there are some things we're going to talk about in terms of function and gameplay, and then afterwards we can talk questions about anything we have before July 2nd there. And we'll talk a little bit about how session 1's going to go, what the conceit is for why you're there in the first place. So, to begin, I want to talk about tone. And obviously, everything that I give to you guys today is optional. We can discuss amongst ourselves if we think that fits our story, because Vegas by Night may be a story that I'm telling, but it's one I'm telling with you guys. I want everything to feel Mayday, not just Caleb. There's going to be a lot of fucking Caleb, so I would love to get more Mayday.
But Caleb is a part of Mayday, so
I
it's
know.
kind of like cyclical in that way.
Right.
Amen.
Or it's the
Amen.
Morbius that feeds itself. Right? So, in my mind, vampires for me have always been dark, supernatural, dreamlike, and lonely. Tone-wise, I'm looking for a serious vibe that, of course, is going to be broken up by some of our shenanigans. We cannot avoid whatever fucked up shit we're going to do to each other because that's our vibe. But I want to see a game with real consequence, with real importance, and with real care. And a lot of that comes with expressing the above reality level of this game. Let me. In my attempt with tone, I'm trying to build a world that exists just above our real one. A heightened interpretation of our world where everything is more important. Think like a theatrical, dramatized version of life that doesn't always adhere to our normal principles, and that goes beyond just being vampires. Of course, vampires are going to be weird. We suck blood and we eat people, and we're lifeless monsters that will go on forever. But I'm also talking about life taking on a dreamlike quality that defies what we normally expect of a game, even with supernatural circumstances.
I'm curious for you to elaborate that. I mean, are you going to present our game in a way where it will feel dreamlike? How exactly do you mean?
So tone-wise, I'm looking to express a lot of the situations we go through things that are presented narratively that feel like you're in a fever dream. I'm trying to adopt like a Lynch sort of style of presentation where everything feels like they should be going on normally, but the vibe you get off of those things are as if maybe I'm not actually in this situation. So it may be that your character says something in conversation that makes everyone in the world look at him rather than a few people who have off glances. I want you to feel like almost like untrusty narrators, unreliable narrators, where the situation is heightened beyond all levels, and that dreamlike quality of changing perceptions, not truly trusting whether something is real or not. Do we all sort of get what I'm saying? If you've ever watched an episode of Twin Peaks where it's just two people in a diner talking over coffee, but it feels like you're on fucking psychedelic drugs from the way that they speak to each other, some of these sequences will have that effect.
Mulholland Drive.
Very quickly, just so it helps my brain. Are we talking, when you said heightened reality, are we talking like Shonda Rhimes heightened reality, Grey's to Bridgerton? Or are we talking like a little bit more muted, like how like Dawson's Creek era teen OC shit?
I'm thinking more like Warhammer, where like it's the end of the world, everything is like really important kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Like
So Buffy season 5.
Yeah, it's very Buffy, where
but
you constantly are like, aren't you supposed to be 16 years old in fucking Hollywood? What the fuck is happening in the show?
Right.
And yes, Vince actually brought up one of the materials that really inspired my campaign, and that's a movie by Lynch called Mulholland Drive, where it takes place in Los Angeles, but it's a Los Angeles without smog. You never see people on the streets. There's no traffic. It's all so stylized that you feel like you are part of something that's real, but you are not actually, in it. You're there, but you're not a part of it, if that makes sense. Vegas is going to be something accessible, but disconnected. We're detached from reality, if that makes sense. There's also something I want to work with within tone that I call conditional consequence. In a game like Vampire the Masquerade, it's easy to get bogged down with indecision because you get in this habit of thinking everything that I do is another political step to accomplishing something. So if I make the wrong one, well, let's have a 2-hour discussion on what is the wrong one before actually making decision. So for this game, I want you guys to feel like you can make decisions without sacrificing the whole game because you said something wrong at a dinner party or whatever it is, right? So that comes in twofold. One, if your character is smoother than you were in a moment and you feel like it's worth redacting or rewording, that is always accepted by me, and I won't go punishing you for speaking in haste. If you say something and you're like, wait, hold on, my character's way fucking smarter than the stupid shit that just came out of my mouth. Caleb, can I take that back? 100% you can. We want to reflect these characters how you view them rather than how we would do in a courtroom, how we would do in a political debate. Because I know I would be saying things left and right that probably would not reflect what I was actually trying to get out of the situation. And then 2, the places where consequences really come into play are in narratively appropriate sections. For instance, the consequences for upsetting a prince are drastically different depending on the stakes at play. If you commit a faux pas on impulse during a mission briefing, you won't be killed on the spot. But if you challenge authority when put on display at an Elysium dinner party during wartime, all of a sudden the worst consequences can be put into play. So the way that I'm thinking of this is like, you can make mistakes. It's when high time comes around that you really need to worry about those things. And we're talking about D2R, it's a lot easier to make mistakes when you're looking for clues than when you're fighting the monster, right? And the same thing goes for these social encounters. you can work your way up. When crunch time comes around, that's when I'm going to remind you, hey, some of these decisions might end up in you losing your head.
Makes sense.
Any questions so far? How are we feeling about all this?
I do have a question on tone, really quick, on violence and sexuality.
Yeah.
So, what can we talk about, like the range that we're talking about?
So I was thinking that for this game, we have a pretty like wide berth because we're vampires. Things are, darker than they usually are, and we're playing reflections of ourselves that are a lot more selfish and self-serving than we are in real life, I hope. So with that, I want you guys to give you credence to explore that, and that's part of the fun of this game, is you get to be a bad person, or you get to be a person who's struggling with the fact that they're going to live forever, on that same route. I don't want to go anywhere that takes you guys too far. So I was thinking after this session 0, we'll put out a Mask and Lines a survey that you guys can take just to see if there's anything we really don't want to touch. But in my mind, violence will probably go into the ultra, violence is the R-rated. Violence is, I'm looking at doing a lot of body horror, if that's okay with everyone. Think like The Thing or Evil Dead level. So I'm thinking of experiencing, some spooky shit, because it is a spooky game. And I want you guys to get into the idea of to spoil something, but Zach is playing a gangrel, right? And part of being a gangrel is turning into this massive fucking beast with the power to rip limbs off with a single pull and everything. I want Zach to feel that way whenever they use that discipline. So if you want to get into it and describe those things, as long as it passes our Mask and Line survey, I'm all for it. In fact, I want you guys to explore that. Vampire is a story of ultraviolence. It's a story of selfishness. It's a story of taking advantage of the situation. One thing I will not accept at the table, though, I do not want any sexual assault. I do not want any sort of sexual anything that goes into the negative. I'm all for sex positive. You guys want to fuck? I've seen Orpheus. I know. We've been there. Do it. By all means. Take the merit that means you can do it safely and fun. Whatever you want to do. I'm all for it. Probably not going to describe any of that. God bless. We'll get a little flirty, but that's about it. And then in the negative, I don't want to see any sort of that, and I don't expect to put any bad guys in front of you that do. And even if that's sort of hinted at, it will never be addressed. It will never be something present on the front. I hope that clears that up. Do you guys have any questions on that? No? Anything explicitly we need to hard code right now and say, hey, this does not belong. I know we just gave a big wide berth, but
I know this may sound, because I keep bringing this up a little bit, but it's just mostly because what Aaron and my character is planning to do. I want to know if there's anything that gets uncomfortable. Is there a thing we can do where we could say tone it down? Or,
yeah.
Chill.
So I'm all for yellow signs and X's. So I think that we can agree that this is a, hey, what the fuck are we doing? I may need a few seconds, and then you can remove yourself. X is a hard out, meaning that we don't want to pursue this. And if I see the X, or if I get an X on Discord, it's over. We're going to end the scene right there. We're going to move completely on. So this is I'm uncomfortable, but I'm comfortable with you guys continuing. I'm going to step away. This is, what the fuck are we doing? We're sacrificing our brand. What about the 10 people watching us right now?
Shots fired.
Always thinking about them.
Yeah. You got to think about Ankh.
Hey.
Always.
Does that clear things up? So, I want you guys to feel, clearly Amanda is planning something fucking sinister.
Yeah. Shocking absolutely no one.
Yeah, especially after talking to those two. I feel for everyone at the table.
That's why I wanted to get it out of the way now.
But
and
for
also,
the rest of you, that is something I want you to explore. If that's something that excites you about being the vampire, absolutely. I know others of you are going for the sad part of being the vampire, obviously. which shocks none of us. And some of you are going for the like power trip of it, right? These are all things we should explore on different terms for each person, but I want that totally. That is what I'm looking for. So I'm glad you asked. Any other questions on masking lines or safety at the table or how far we should go with things?
I think we're all pretty familiar with each other in terms of this kind of stuff, so I'm not too worried about it.
Neither am I. This game, like on the first page, tells you to remove as many boundaries as you can as is safe. So maybe we want to go further than we have before, which I don't know how much farther we can go after T2R season 2.
Done a lot.
That's not
Challenge accepted.
That's all right.
No,
Fine.
not a challenge.
that's not tempt.
Sounds like a challenge. To
It is.
me.
Aaron,
No.
Aaron,
don't worry. Aaron, I got
Baby
that
love.
one
Aaron,
unlocked.
listen, I'm not like these other DMs. Those two, they don't
I'm
get
a
it.
cool.
I'm a cool DM.
We're technically below you to the side.
Those
There you go.
they don't get it. I'm a cool DM.
That's right.
I'm okay if you want to drink. Just do it in the house, please.
Nice. Nice.
And those two rules about conditional consequence, to go back to like my little document I'm looking at, that's just to encourage everyone to engage no matter what. Because I've been in VTM games where I did not feel smart enough to do what I was doing, and I did it anyways and then felt bad later. I'd rather you guys feel like you have that power without feeling bad about it. Some media pieces that I think would really help you guys if you want to get into the vibe of how I'm telling vampires, because there are about 50,000 ways. I mean, there's everything from Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer to like 30 Days of Night. Like you can go a million different ways with telling a vampire story. There's also, Twilight.
I was gonna say you have to say it for Zakia.
I could see some of you like physically tensing that I did not say the word.
I was mostly doing it for Zakia's benefit, honestly.
That's the tone I live in. You don't have to say it.
I'm sure before this is over, we'll get a vampire baseball scene. We'll see it.
Oh god. Yes.
Look, I'm still on board for us doing baseball photos.
So that's our coteries, where the little minor league baseball, Vegas baseball leagues.
Look, Serge, you're
Nonetheless.
saying this like it's a joke.
Which is a real thing. My dad played in a minor league, like church league, at
like
night,
an
so it's
intramural,
very possible. Yeah.
Nice.
That
I will
would
find
be-
us a softball league. If you
That
think
would
I'm
be
bullshit.
great too, because like your domain issues are supposed to be centered around the domain. So
Park.
all of your issues
Our domain
would
is
be
a
like,
park.
Softball problems.
yeah, we got a rival baseball team.
And they're werewolves or something.
You,
Okay.
how come you didn't say Lost Boys? I'm just gonna give you a little
hold on.
stick from
He
it.
hasn't
We're
given
getting
his list yet.
I haven't given you yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
The very first that I think is most indicative of how you are going to experience vampires, you should go and watch Interview with a Vampire. It is
Oh, that one.
everything that I think I'm going for vibe-wise. It's a movie that it's a classic vampire flick with Lestat, Tom Cruise performing the perfect Camarilla impression, and Louis going through a genuine anarch revolt. The power politics, the otherworldly longing, all of it is reflective of how I see the vampires. Okay, you have a great representation of this sire and child relationship where Tom Cruise is trying to give Brad Pitt everything that he needs to survive in this new existence, not fully understanding because of this huge age gap and understanding gap that he's ruining the life of this thing he covets as a toy. And Brad Pitt in reverse is seeing his life stretched on forever because someone else made a decision for him, and trying to react naturally in that situation of, he has given me what he thinks is a gift, I have to be grateful. But how can I be grateful for all that time lost? It's a great representation of what it is to be trapped in a relationship with a sire. Rarely is it a good relationship, and that's really indicative in this movie. It's always chaotic, even when Louis flees Lestat and ends up with his very hot Antonio Banderas boyfriend in Paris. Even that goes completely wrong because no vampire is truly built for talking with another individual and connecting with them, right? It's just doomed. Great movie. The book is a great too if you have 2 weeks to read a novel. The second, and Vince already, pegged this immediately, but Mulholland Drive was a huge inspiration because I was looking at twofold when I was putting this together. I was thinking, how do I express the vampire and how do I express the Vegas? Mulholland Drive is the expression I'm going for the city. It's a movie that feels like a fever dream, but captures the real world, but far from real. It feels both wholly faithful to Los Angeles and bizarrely detached all at the same time. This is Vegas by night for me. You are in a city that is so loved and known and appreciated, and anyone living would be so happy to be there. But you are not a part of that, and you don't get to be. You live on the fringe of what that reality is, and you can only watch Vegas like a jewel from afar, and every interaction feels like you are out of place. That's what I'm going for. Some looser ones that don't really have descriptions. You should check out Twin Peaks. You should listen to a Nine Inch Nails album called With Teeth. You should listen to anything by She Wants Revenge, by Bauhaus, by Interpol. Those are all great musical artists to get you in a vibe of what I'm slaying down. You should go watch an old David Bowie movie called The Hunger. It's really bad, but it's great vampire. Lost Boys is absolutely essential if you want to know what my anarchs are going to be like. Kiefer Sutherland and his weird, bizarre concept of thinking he's saving you is so inherent to the anarch side of things. They are so obsessed with being free that they've lost sight of what it is to really live. And then finally, if you're into comics, you should check out American Vampire. It's a great little series.
Yes.
Hey, okay, Rob's got me.
Yes.
Or Vince has got me. The American Vampire series has a great interpretation of what it is to be a vampire and what it is I'm going for.
So good.
Any
So
questions on any of that?
I feel like we're leaving out.
Twilight. You
Thank
should
you.
watch every
All right.
Twilight.
Great.
I will not. I will
That's all
not.
they wanted to hear.
Unless we all do it together and you agree that I get to make fun of it.
Of course.
Of course you get to make fun of it.
Literally
Half
in
of
day.
watching Twilight is making fun of it.
Yeah.
Even when you
I
like
have a
it.
recording session after this, but I will absolutely drive to your house instead of doing my recording session.
Remember, darling, I can always just make you dress up like Edward too if I want.
Oh man.
Oh God.
Oh
That
no,
would be
is
like-
this what we're getting into
Word.
already?
The shittiest requirement of a game to watch every Twilight before you can come to session 1.
I'm out of that
That
game.
that would be awful. Yeah.
Like it's
Have fun,
required
kids.
watching.
You're hurting Zakia.
I was gonna say, just
I
don't
need to
kill
think I got the
Zakia's
last one.
Twilight love era.
No.
Just
It's fine. It's just confusion, but that's hate.
I love Twilight like more than anything, but I would never subject someone to that against their will. That's worse than anything a vampire can do.
I mean that I get that. Yep.
Okay. The next we got to talk about is Chronicle Tenets. I mean, this is a weird one to explain because it is very nebulous. Even in the book, it's pretty nebulous. The tenets are rules set up by us in Session 0 to orchestrate what sort of a game we'd all like to run. Now, these rules are meant to be broken, or at least analyzed. The rules implemented to drive our game towards dealing with the inherent issues within the topic the rule addresses. For example, if we were to use the rule, or the tenet, protect the innocent, then the coterie would see a lot of situations throughout the game where innocents are put into danger and the tenet is put into action. Then, do you choose to obey the law of the coterie and honor the tenet, or do you stray and entertain the consequences that the narrative brings in its denial? So this is a rule that we all come up with that we love in a vampire movie, or we love in a story of tragedy or redemption, whatever we want to throw this towards, right? We come up with that rule to orchestrate something we want to see a lot of in this game. In addition to this, tenets can be genre defining as well. Maybe you want to make this game particularly combat heavy, and you institute a tenet called All Sabbat Burn. And it becomes a core piece of gameplay that we purge every Sabbat vampire we meet. Or maybe the Coterie wants its throne at the highest level, and we implement a politically surged tenet called Vegas belongs to us, and forbid any action that would prevent the power of the Coterie. So you can go in like a concept direction of like, we should protect the innocent, you should avoid hubris, whatever high concept we want to tell narratively, but you can also go genre-wise. I want a lot of combat. I want a lot of political. I want a lot of social. I want a lot of fucking around. The last function of these tenets is to give us reasons to play together. As vampires, we are selfish, inhuman monsters who, even at our best, are not capable of the connections we had as humans. Everything we do is charged with what we gain from it, and unfortunately that means that sometimes we don't have reasons to work with others. These tenets give us a reminder of why these characters are built to be together, what the commonality is between each player and character. So if there are reasons, think like Ahsoka, if there are reasons why we split for a brief moment, right? These tenets are the way that we feed them back together. So if there are spats between the parties, this is how we keep a coterie working together, because, why do bad guys get together other than they have the same belief system? This is your belief system, both as a player and a character. So even if your character doesn't believe the tenet, you should at least believe it enough to push him back into the narrative, should he go astray. I have two things to suggest that I think could guide us, but and that's tenets I came up with, but they're entirely optional. And then there's whatever you guys would like to add to that list as well. I want you to come up with something if you have an idea, because I would love to have a piece of you in the tenets. We should do it twofold. Of one, it should be the concept that the rule represents, and two, it should be the rule itself. So, for example, I came up with one called Goat Song. This is a tale of hubris and the danger of pride. A major theme at the heart of each story being told is the battle between knowing oneself and falling dangerously out of sync with your own capabilities. When you're undead, bulletproof, eternal, and powerful, how do you keep the body in check from believing itself to be invulnerable? How far are you willing to go to achieve what's out of reach, and should you have gone that far to begin with? And the rule would be, do not succumb to hubris. Don't fly too close to the sun. It's about pursuing power. So we would run into a lot of situations where a player would be given the opportunity to climb the tower and be more powerful than the others in the coterie, the others in the game. And it would be about controlling that power in such a way that doesn't breed hubris. So the concept is hubris. The rule is do not pursue power, right? Do not pursue too much power, right? And we can define for ourselves how that comes into play, because maybe your whole goal was to become Prince of Vegas. Well, how can I do that if we have a rule where hubris is an issue? One, I want you to consider that these rules are made to be fucking broken. If we have a rule that says don't succumb to hubris, it doesn't mean never invite hubris in. It means when you do, you lose humanity. You lose the things that make you who you used to be, and you become deeper the things you're trying to fight, right? So think of these things as like obstacles that you can either avoid or run through. Running through has bigger consequences, but you gain what you want out of the situation. Avoiding can only be done for so long before something terrible happens. Does that make sense? Are we all sort of getting the vibe of what these things mean?
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can I also, my question is, especially with hubris, because that's actually, I like that idea. So basically it's to also stop like one of us from totally branching off and going fuck it because we realize we have to keep each other as a group in a way. It's like that's why we always come back together, because we know like we work better as a team than solo.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that concept would, like, one thing you guys all brought to me in character creation was you are someone that recognized that the old guard are taking advantage of you. And so in my mind, the hubris idea is saying we're not going to be taking advantage the same way they did us. And the way they did is by individualizing themselves. We're going to make sure everyone gets fed.
Well, that's kind of something I wanted to bring up. Like, once I saw what everybody's clans are, I immediately noticed, oh, there's no Ventru, there's no Tremere, there's no Toreador. Like, these are the classic, leader vampires, I guess. Like, the people who are at the top, and we're not that. So, like, my immediate vibe is we are either the opposite or we're the underclass. Like, I'm getting very, like, underclass, underserved, kind of the dregs of Vegas kind of vibe from this group, and whether we rise or whether we fight against it or whatnot. I do think that's very compelling in terms of what the group's makeup.
I love that. And I agree, you guys are sort of the exception when it comes to clans. The only one that would be considered a high clan is Legs, and they are far from the reputation they used to have. Do we agree that Goat Song could be one of our tenets then? Do we enjoy this one?
I think it's definitely worth writing down.
I give a thumbs up for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I will say also, as a player, I love role play, but combat is important to my attention span. So I do think, I love this idea that you mentioned of body horror and just, whatever kind of supernatural horrors you might play, and to throw at it certainly entices me. And coming up against those things certainly is a big draw for me. So I would appreciate if combat was, just how D&D has those pillars of gameplay. I would appreciate if it was one of the pillars. Right. Because it sounds like we've got some pretty tough SOBs in this group too.
Yes. Yeah, we have a lot of fighters in this crew. And the good thing about Goat Song is that covers our political pillar, right? So let's see if we can't come up with something that feeds into Sergio's idea of combat, and maybe we could go with that body horror idea. Maybe it's something about purging abominations, right? Or ridding the world of other monsters, or maybe it is about an individual sect. Maybe you guys hate the vampire terrorists called the Sabbat. That's the goal of the campaign. It's one of the tenets is we don't let those fuckers live because all they do is pillage and destroy everything they come across. Or, maybe it's to incite war. A war is needed, and this game around, we're going to make sure that a war comes out. So anytime we can bring to conflict, we're going to. Or maybe it's about the Second Inquisition. There are hunters out there, and they want you dead. They do not want you to exist, and they are government bodies controlled by the U.S. to take you out specifically. So maybe your job is to ensure that they never get a chance. Who knows?
I like that.
Yeah, that kind of feels like a common enemy, because I think there isn't one clan that... Well, maybe we could find a clan we all hate, but...
Sabbat would be it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because we're all kindred, we either really don't like another one of the World of Darkness folks, or we just don't like the cops.
Yeah,
so.
that's
that one.
Yeah.
Our rule is ACAB.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like I saw under creative justice, it's like without a cause you are nothing.
Yeah.
I think I think that would speak, not to speak for everyone, but I think that would speak to a lot of us. Is having a cause to motivate and propel forward.
And we can use that to propagate the idea of combat as a pillar, because we are effectively defending our causes at each combat interaction. So we can use that to come to blows. Or it could even be specialized to be defend your cause with everything you have or whatever it is. I totally agree that without a cause you are nothing could totally fit this group.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too will go into what coterie type we go with.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we choose to defend the city from supernatural things, that kind of is where the combat pillar, comes into play. That
100%. So if we wanted to, tenets could reflect everything else, and then we could decide coterie group to decide combat.
What else in terms of tenets are important to us as players?
We have some examples. If you want, I can just start reading them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So there's the humanist tenets, which is thou shalt not kill or save in self-defense. Thou shalt not torture. Thou shalt not harm the innocent. The creed of justice, which is without a cause you are nothing. Be your own, never submit, or never kill the innocent. The Gothic romantic types are never deny true love, which I like, but I understand. The guilty should suffer or uphold the norms of decent society. Street code is never snitch. I also like. Respect others and demand respect, and don't kill outsiders.
My character certainly is interested, like, to maintain their humanity. Protect, not necessarily protect the innocent, but don't harm the innocent. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's important to my character. But then so does, like, hurting those who are guilty of something, but not as much as protecting the innocent. I don't know if we have a unified view on that or not.
No, but I like that you and I are the ones who are opposite on this one this time.
Yeah.
And remember, when it comes down to tenets, we don't have to agree as characters. Sure. We just have to agree as players. So we could go into session one with some of us believing we should protect the innocents and others not. And the beauty of the narrative is maybe they switch at the end of arc 1 or whatever it is.
Because I do feel, I'm sorry if I'm taking up too much airtime, but I do think there's something interesting in the vampire, because that's all about, like, the humanity stuff, right? So and that's something as a vampire or as a player I want to explore, is like, how quickly and how easily can I lose my humanity? So something like this is obviously a test of that.
Yeah, so that was the second one I came up with, which I called Tragic Monsters, which is a rule of not losing all of your humanity, right? How far can you go before you stop being the person you were and you start being whatever it is you're going to be for the rest of your life, sort of thing. I thought it fit each of your characters because everyone expressed a sort of attachment to who you were, or at least an understanding that is done now and you're trying to keep the vestiges. And it honestly, it works, right? You're a group. I don't think anyone here is on a power trip yet, and if they are, that's even better because they can be the outlier. But all of you struck me as a group that is working really hard to preserve the good parts of you.
I'm also a fan of be your own, never submit.
That was when I wrote down.
I love that.
Be your own, never submit's cool. Yeah.
I like that.
Never snitch was good too.
Yeah, never snitch.
Is that wrong? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I kind of like that just because it allows us the wiggle room of, like, whether we end up being more on the side of the Camarilla or not, it still allows us the wiggle room of, like, yeah, we're part of the Camarilla, but we're still doing our own thing, kind of a vibe, you know?
Ooh, that's gonna cause... That, I'll tell you right now, would cause a lot of interesting issues. So
Good.
I just want to remind you guys, you don't have to pick a sect. You can flip in this game or come to a conclusion later on the game. If we start out loving the Anarchs and thinking we're all for freedom and find out those guys blow, you can switch over.
It's a conversation worth having, because I honestly don't know where everybody's characters sit at the moment. Like, my character would probably just be going with whatever flow gets him closest to a kind of freedom that they want. So, I don't know what everyone. I mean, would we just start
a little poll?
I love how we're just like, we're trying to subtly kind of.
Gonna say,
can we just ask?
Camarilla all day, Camarilla all day, all night, everywhere in space on Earth.
You got one for Cam, one for middle of the road.
I think I don't want to speak for Amanda, but I think we're almost leaning the opposite way. And if we aren't, it's reluctantly.
Okay, so you're with the Anarchs then. 2 for the Anarchs.
Am I wrong, Amanda?
I feel like we would kind of like. I hate to say it, you and I are kind of like straddling the lines because we're a pair. That's non-negotiable. So it's like we have to always. I love how I'm just like right now in charge with you right now.
Controlling.
It is so non-negotiable.
And so to be clear, just because again,
I feel like we have to be like kind of like we're not saying no, but we're not saying yes. And I know that doesn't help, but I am leaning with Aaron on that. But
so Camarilla are like vampire politics, like the government. The Anarchs are just like, we want freedom from this hierarchy.
So think of like if the Camarilla are a feudal kingdom.
Right.
If the Camarilla is a king on a throne who has a court who oversees a small plot of land and they're in control of fucking everything. King decides he owns your house, he does. That's the Camarilla, right? The Anarchs are the pillagers, or the villagers who pick up their pitchforks, go up into the king's chambers and stab him dead in his sleep and take over and say, "We're all free now. Run, be free."
I know,
But they call themselves barons.
But then are they then more democratic, or is it more just anarchy?
They're liars.
Okay.
See, this is where I was like, I'm leaning, but
They're both. So here's the thing. They like to think of themselves as more democratic, but like a lot of rebellions, when they take power, they now don't know what to do with it because that's what they hated in the first place.
Right.
So they stop and they go, well, we can't have a king, so what are we going to do? And some guy speaks up and goes, well, what if everyone in this room was a king? Okay, you get this section of New York, you get that section of New York, you get that section of New York, and we'll just never talk to each other ever again. That's freedom, right? Yeah, sure, until the other guy gets into your domain, and now you have no rule against it, and it becomes anarchy, right? So it splits. Either you have really successful anarch societies like California. California has become the anarch-free states where they have actually a good system where barons have control, but they come together to vote, and there are actual councils that go about. But then you also have like the anarch-free states of the South, where anarch is really just word for the hillbillies who rob you in the dead of night, eat you, and then diabolarize your body and run off in the crazed, blood-covered fang gang that they've become in the Appalachians, or the Appalachians, right? So it goes both ways, but it goes both ways with Camarilla too. The Camarilla either are upholding of their traditions, firm to their beliefs, and keep everyone within their city safe by ruling with a firm hand, or they're powerful totalitarian dictators who will do anything to take a firm abuse of the people under their control. Goes both ways. You don't know what Vegas is like because it's a big state of flux right now where essentially two ruling bodies just left. People who have been in charge for 40, 50, 60 years have all of a sudden, left this sphere. So who knows what it's going to be. But those are the concepts. On their best, they're a government. On their worst, there is a totalitarian dictatorship. And then on the anarch side, on their best, they're rebels who give democracy to the people. And at their worst, they're disenfranchised, disorganized criminals.
Meet the old boss, same as the new boss.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. And the Sabbat are
Aaron.
just terrorists.
Sabbat are fucking weird, blood-fueled terrorists who will stop at nothing to kill every last old vampire. The Sabbat created this religious organization where they believe that the worst thing you can be is an elder. And so they went on this big trip to kill every grandpa in the world. And they've been doing a pretty good job of it. So much so that recently, like old vampires have started feeling this thing called the beckoning, which is drawing them to the Middle East through their blood. And when they arrive there, it's really to wage a holy war against Sabbat, who are like, this is how terrible they are. The worst thing about the Sabbat is they'll go from a town to town and turn every last living person in that town. They will push them to the ground, bite them on the neck, create 70 new vampires in one night. They then take that army of like however many they came in and the town's population, go into a major Camarilla city and kill everyone in sight trying to take the city. They're like cockroaches or vermin or herds. They move in, they consume everything in their path, and then they get out while they still can. At their highest, they're controlled by a clan called the La Sombra, who have them engaging at the political sphere.
What's up?
And at their lowest, they are vermin. They are rats, feeding on anything they can get their little hands on.
Certainly doesn't seem appealing.
No.
I could build a tenant behind not liking them, but...
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Sabbat are fucking terrible.
I know my guy. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, my dude is very much an outsider to the current order. Neither Camarilla nor Anarch kind of has been raised in solitude since his embrace. So, definitely still up in the air.
Okay, middle of the road. We've
Two
got
middle, two anarch.
So
Oh no,
Malkavians,
straight out anarch. Yeah, I agree with Aaron now.
anarchs, right?
Okay.
Two anarchs, two
I had to
middle.
really kind of yeah, once you explain it that way, I was like, oh yeah, now I get why he's to that.
One can.
I think we're just missing Eli and Lev.
Oh. I'm also kind of like Vince. I've been raised outside the political sphere, so I have no attachment to either or. So it depends on how
they court you.
Yeah, it depends on how
Yeah.
this goes. Will determine.
You guys
Love
are
it.
all the belle of the boss.
We're gonna get along. We're gonna get along well.
And that is like a major concept of this game. I think I told all of you that, but like both teams right now are so desperate for people that the sects are basically trying to convince all of you to join.
That's an interesting position to be in.
Yeah. So there is power in being in the middle too, because you can play both sides for as long as you need to before you
Be
make
your
a
own.
decision.
Never submit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think from what Caleb and I talked about, I'm technically Cam right now, but I don't think I want to be. I'm also like super young. I'm like 6 months old.
Yeah.
Oldish.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty young.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I know entirely what's going on.
I
Love
agree.
that.
I don't think most of us do,
Did
right?
I remember that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Right.
So at this point, it seems like we're middle of the road. We want to start the
Yeah.
game with clear options so that we don't go headlong. Now, I'm sure after basically by session 3, I'm sure you guys will have formed at least your first opinion. And
by that, you mean there will be Burrows in the street.
yeah.
We're gonna
It's
find
just-
somebody.
What I'm excited for is the second opinion. But
Well, you know, a lot of it is going to be like, who's the pitch person, right?
Yes.
How well do we respond to that individual? You know, how, you know, are we drinking the Kool-Aid, or are we like, I just don't like this motherfucker. Whatever he tells me, I'm going to do the exact opposite.
And the fun of this game is that listening to the pitch person ignores the world of things happening behind who gave you the pitch, right? And so
Love it.
who you fall in love with NPC-wise isn't necessarily indicative of what's going to happen to you later. They're
I
all
love the
lying.
politics. I love the
Everyone
politics.
is lying to you.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
Lying is hard.
Yeah, it is. You don't have to lie. Be an honest vampire. That
I
always
will
works
not.
out.
I've already
It
decided
always
I'm
works
going
out
to lie.
so well.
But just
So-
from an Allegra perspective, I have a really hard time lying at any time.
I'm glad you're playing a lying character. I think it'll be fun.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see
Successful, maybe not, but fun, yes.
So right now we're sitting on the goat song, "Do Not Succumb to Hubris." The tragic monsters, "We Don't Hurt the Innocent" is kind of what the vibe we're getting.
Yeah.
And then this new "Be Your Own, Never Submit." I don't really know what the concept title of that is, but
So that would be like sticking to your own belief systems rather than abiding by whatever a sect is telling you to do. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be a part of the sect, but it means that
Sure.
if they were to give you an order, if you somehow become very buddy-buddy with Camarilla and someone gives you a blood hunt to hunt another member of your coterie, that would be a major be your own, never submit moment. Do you agree with the people who have given you this power and are giving you this position, or do you go against them to save your friend? And that would be one of the major like concepts I would throw down for you guys.
I really think those three, I mean, they're not mutually exclusive, right? Goat Song,
Yeah.
Tragic Monsters, Be Your Own, Never Submit. Those, I think those three would be great tenets.
I think the 4 of this works. So Goat Song, Protecting the Innocent, Be Your Own, Never Submit, and don't lose your humanity, basically, right?
Yeah.
That
Love
feels
it.
good.
Protect
Okay.
the
Yeah.
But now
Protect
there
the-
was the question of why are we together,
Yes.
and that might be better defined with our coterie. But I suppose if we've already said that our characters don't necessarily hold all these tenets. This is more of a player thing. But I
So
don't
this
know-
is like your out of character reason for being together is that you understand that all of you are telling the same story. So for example,
sure.
if 2 of your characters disagree on protecting the innocent, Aaron is all about eating fuckers for no reason, and you're desperately trying to cling to the fact that we shouldn't do that. Maybe that causes a rift from your characters, but from a player point of view, that gives you guys a reason to talk after game and go, okay, next game we should try and have some sort of conversation that that addresses this. Or maybe
Gotcha.
it's just solitary. You don't talk to Aaron about it, but you make a conscious decision of, I'm going to be an active part in Aaron's character learning to protect the innocent.
Gotcha.
Or I'm going to be the active part in putting him down when he refuses to learn to protect the innocent, right? It's that sort of, that's what the tenets are there for. How can I use this to involve the rest of the party members and honor that tenet? Whether that's
the out of character, like the out of character guidelines to push and motivate our characters.
Exactly. Yeah. So do we all feel good about the tenets? We have do not succumb to hubris, protect the innocent at all costs, be your own, never submit, and don't lose your humanity. We feel good about those 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
love that.
That's our game right there. I will be punishing you for going against these ideas, but whenever I do, I'm going to remind you that you agreed to these rules. So you may come to a situation where you do something and I'm going to just say the tenet at you and you're going to go, shit, okay, fine.
But you also said they're supposed to be broken.
I did. So that I could punish you. What do you think this game's about?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's part
excited.
of the fun, right? That's how you get your sayings. That's how you lose your humanity, because I know a lot of us were confused as to how that goes about, but it really is. It's denying your convictions and denying your tenets. That's how you sort of functionally lose the person you were. Okay, moving forward. We talked about it a lot, but now it's time to finally decide. We're going to talk about Coterie Type.
Nice.
Coterie Type is to further specify what kind of a game we're all looking for. It's sort of the in-game version of the tenets, right? So if the tenets are for out-of-character reasons for us all to be together, Coterie Type is the in-character reasons why we get together every week, right? The Coterie Type is an example of what the Coterie's actual function in the game will serve from a thematic standpoint. At the start of our game, we won't be a functioning coterie, but by the end of session 1, we'll have earned the title even if it isn't functioning. Meaning that for this distinction, we must have a designation within the world. Contrary to D&D and Vampire, we're looking at a group of people that almost never take allies or alliances without something at stake or something to gain. The Chronicle Tenets give us behind-the-scenes narrative on why we're together and what kind of game we're playing. Coterie Type gives us the narrative reason in the actual world we're playing in. So I know you guys have been talking about some. I saw that you guys popped it into the group chat. I'm sure that you have a secret DM where you're all just posting really bad pictures of me and making fun of me.
Obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be sexual.
Definitely.
But let's talk about it. What do you guys have in mind?
Well, I'm going to just state the ones that we have kind of refined a little bit because we liked them or we thought that they were appropriate. There's champions. We fight for a good cause. There's the Fang Gang, which we are a criminal crew, gang, or the like.
That has my vote right there.
I kind of like the Fang Gang too, in a way, for reasons. There's the Marechal. Is that pronounced Marechal? Yeah. Which serves and guards the lord of the city. I'm a little iffy on that after all we've talked about. The Questari seeks to accomplish a great enterprise or objective. The Vem enforces the Masquerade. That one to me is probably the most evocative. And then there's the Watchman, protects the city from supernatural intruders, which I also really dig.
Yeah. The one I know I talked about Marechal, and I think I was confusing that for Cerberus. Cerberus was protects or guards an important location.
Okay, which is also cool in a way.
Yeah, I think the LA by Night coterie was more like a Cerberus because they were all about Griffin College and Griffin Park and everything like that.
Yes. Very true. They were also heavily into the Veen because a lot of their side quests had to do with ensuring that no one saw the werewolves, no one saw this, no one saw that.
No.
When I think of Fang Gang, I think of Vegas Heist. Like that's exactly
what I was thinking.
Yeah. Ocean's 11, like that's what I would want to do.
Like we have to break into the Bellagio at some point, right? Like it's right there.
Yeah.
I want to swim with a shark.
Kind of fun. We just have to pick our crime because kind of everything about being a kindred is a crime.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about Fang Gang is we can discern what sort of crime you guys are about. We can also sort of discuss whether we think that's sanctioned by one of the sects or if that's something we're doing outside of that. And it could also be if we like the idea of heists, but we don't like the idea of being a gang 100% of the time. It could be something that we talk about just putting a heist into the game if one of these appeals more to it. But that was something that definitely came into my mind, and I have things like that planned, casino things and classic, like, I mean, there's the mob museum in Vegas and this huge criminal underground.
Yeah.
It's definitely something we could explore for sure.
So one I just saw that because I didn't read Cult of the Blood Gods, but one that that leaves room for all that are saboteurs, spies, assassins, and political disruptors who seek to upend the structure.
That sounds great.
That sounds
That sounds great.
Yeah.
It does sound fun.
And it does fit to you guys being middle of the road. Saboteur doesn't always mean that you have a person you're reporting back to. Maybe you guys are poisoning both sides, or maybe you do fall in love with one of the sex and you decide we're gonna fuck up the other side as hard as we possibly can and play double agents because they both need people right now.
Or we weaken both sides and we can therefore
Play 'em
make
against each
sure
other.
that exactly let them be distracted by all that shit and we can take over.
This great big narrative of we're gonna play both sides and come out on top really gets close to a concept we just put together called Goat Song. Meaning that applying yourself to hubris is sort of like thinking you can take down both sex and end up powerful on the other side.
Right.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
I personally would enjoy.
compelling narrative and story. I vote for saboteurs. I like that.
Yeah.
And could we like transition from one
Yes,
kind of coterie to
100%.
another?
What we start out as is not necessarily what we will be. And also, this is just for us. It's not something that comes into play mechanically. This is just so I know what you guys want out of the game. So if you wanted to be a Veen who is actually a saboteur, or if you wanted to be a watchman that's actually a saboteur, that's possible too, because essentially they're not going to tell you, or one side is not going to tell you, yeah, go spy for us. They're going to say, hey, we want you guys on our side as our guards. So maybe you're doing Veen work for them, or Questari work for them, but you're doing saboteur work for the others, or whatever that is. We can put two together, or maybe it's a Veen and a Fang gang, where you guys are doing crime on the side that no one talks about, but you're also protecting the Masquerade in the city, or a Watchman and a Questari. You're supposed to protect the Vegas from supernatural things, but the only way to do that is to go get a great MacGuffin, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're all supposed to be relatively new to the whole political structure. I almost think it makes more sense narratively that we begin as tools and we become weapons. Like we become saboteurs through our experience of dealing with the Camarilla or whatever. So that's why like the starting as watchmen sounds fun and simple. Like it's a very morally black and white kind of thing that then becomes more gray as we interact with the world.
Right.
And also just like all of us being kind of the underclass. I'm going to get into obnoxious film theory, but like, when you talk about like noir detectives are always those guys that live in between the criminal world and the leaders of the world. And they kind of, point out the hypocrisies in both, etc. And so I like the idea of like enforcing the Masquerade, because we will see a lot of the hypocrisy in the Camarilla and stuff like that. But I love the idea of eventually becoming saboteurs.
Actually, can I add on something? This is kind of actually based off of like a real group that happened when like the mob in their heydays. Mm-hmm. There was a group of just like assassins. I think they were called like Murder Inc. or something. They would basically, Murder Inc. Every like no family effed with these guys because they were all terrified. But they used them. They would go and take care of what they got to take care of, but no one took action against them. The only reason they came apart was one of their own kind of, and it caused like a domino effect. But,
I just want to acknowledge as a coterie that we are newbies to all of this. Like, it won't make sense if we're walking into this like badasses, like knowing how we're going to play both sides. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And I wasn't implying to do that, but that's where I was just thinking like, oh, I see where you're going, like where we would not be, but eventually that's how I envision us is. We're going to get to that point that we may not all be alike, but people don't fuck with us.
So I think we have come to sort of like a conclusion. Stop me if I shouldn't be saying this, but we want to eventually become saboteurs.
Yeah.
Eventually we want to be the spy, the assassin, the one in charge of taking down the other sect. So now I think it's just about deciding what we start out as.
I think Fangang would be great for starting off.
No.
I agree.
I like Fangang and Watchmen.
Yeah. I mean, also, if we're all sort of doing our own little criminal activities by ourselves, then that does kind of cover, like, I mean, we could combine our crimes, but also it just seems like they're gonna make us, as newbies, Watchmen anyway.
Does Watchmen cover the Second Inquisition? I know it specifically says supernatural threats, but would that cover the Second Inquisition?
To me, it's predominantly supernatural, but the Second Inquisition absolutely makes that list. You're going to be fucking up the SI a lot because the Watchmen are essentially people who are charged by the enforcer of the city. So odds are you're either working with a sheriff or one of the barons of the anarchy or the anarchs. So you're working with like the king killer of the city. And they're sending you out on missions to report to and from taking care of things like that. So predominantly it will be you guys were chosen because you're the lucky little licks that they think should die to a ghost or die to a werewolf or die to the oblivion or whatever it is the Sabbat is planning ritual-wise or whatever. But if the SI come through, obviously you're going to be called too because if you can take a ghost, you can take a cop.
Yeah, I like the Suicide Squad vibe of like, you know, we're all just being kind of thrown to the wolves to see whether we can stand and survive. And and I just like the beginning of the game being like supernatural stuff, and then it becomes more political as we kind of get a little more versed in the world.
Right.
I agree.
And I am hearing this heist stuff. Either way, we're going to have a heist.
Yes!
It seems like we all want a heist. I'll put a heist in.
Thank you.
I planned a heist, so it helps. Like, it works out. It seems we all really wanted to rob a casino. So.
We want to steal it. Yeah.
Well,
I won't.
Maybe that's in the view of being Watchmen, too. You know, maybe there is something you need to take down a particular supernatural baddie. And it's locked in a safe in a heist, or
fucking Orpheus is running a Vegas thing. We got to bust it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So two things. So and I won't beat this dead horse any deader. But so one thing that stood out to me that you were saying, Serge, is that being new, being unknown, we're all relatively young. Our political inclinations aren't really public knowledge among like the movers and shakers in either the Camarilla or the Anarchs. You've got Sabiri and you've got Vanguard. So disguised and covertly inserted by a rival lord or established operations behind enemy lines. Like for us to have like a Maula or somebody calling the shots who's like, okay, you guys are new, you're young, nobody knows you. You're going to go spy on this group, or you're going to go report back to me on what's going on in this part of the city that we don't have any eyes on. Something like that.
Shit. I mean, in some ways, my character kind of is that, but
that's what I'm saying. Like we're we're months old, right? So like nobody knows who the fuck we are. So we can easily.
It would continue our streak of having a mom in every campaign.
Who's not a baby? Raise your hand.
I think. Okay.
Okay.
Are we talking baby human or baby
is a
vampire?
Yeah, baby is a kindred. Like first 2 years.
All of you know next to nothing, but some of you are older than a year. Okay. You all have the same level of knowledge. Some of you have like cursory knowledge of other things because of your backgrounds, but you guys know how to bite, you know how to live, you know how not to die, don't get in the sun. You don't know anything about the Anarchs or the Camarilla. You know that sometimes very powerful vampires tell you you're doing something wrong. That's the extent for all of you.
Caleb?
Just an idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry. So with Watchmen and all that, just because I'm trying to think, because we already have that, like we all have to be the same courtier, because it's even though we're forced into that, does that make, because I'm just thinking like how we would interact, we would constantly just go back to our club and how we just run things. So would we be also part of that, or we just separate it from that?
No, so your coterie, this group right here, would be the Watchmen. we're sort of deciding what this group of people are. So if we choose Watchmen, the reason why you and Aaron get together with Leg, with Sergio, with Eli, with Vince, with Zach, is because you all are a part of this Watchmen group, whether by choice or by force, right? This is sort of just deciding what you guys do when you come together. So if we choose Watchmen, you guys are going to see a lot of ghosts, a lot of werewolves, a lot of other spooky, very powerful vampires and what you have to do with them. If you choose Sabiri, you're going to be talking with your vampire dad a lot about what it is you're supposed to be getting out of the sex and what you can do to do that. If you choose Fang Gang, you're going to be sent on a lot of criminal escapades, and you guys are going to build a Walter White empire. You know, it's just the flavor of what we're doing before the meta plot takes over.
Got it.
Or how the meta plot takes over what you're doing, because the meta plot will be different based on what you pick.
These all feel like sequential. Like the Sabiri feels like what happens on our way to becoming the Fang Gang.
On our way to becoming saboteurs.
Yes, to becoming saboteurs.
So like we start Watchmen, move Sabiri, Fang Gang, saboteurs.
Yeah,
I like that.
We want to see the whole fucking
We want to
world.
run the gamut. Yeah.
I like that, and I mean, taking on all that is close to Goat Song too. You're spreading yourself in every direction in the city because they need you to. How far can you spread?
I wonder if like maybe certain characters take on the Sabiri. Because I know you mentioned some people might do something else. Maybe we start as whether it be Fang Gang or Watchmen, and then, but some of us are Sabiri or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Watchmen, if our whole vibe is to be a team and be loyal and communicate honestly, we're going to be disloyal and never communicate and make secrets as quick as possible, which is gonna get us into Sabiri territory.
It's just who you guys are, yeah.
True.
And just like we took the heist out of Fang Gang, we can take things out of the others. If you guys don't necessarily want to be Sabiri, you want to be Watchmen, but you do want someone who like looks over you through that process, we can discuss putting in a Mala into that type of gameplay. If we like that piece, but we want that piece, we can sort of make our own puzzle there.
We want a mommy every campaign.
I will get you a mommy.
I've already baked mine.
All right, so shall we do a round of voting of just kind of what do we start as?
My mommy.
Okay, so
I'll write that up.
champions. I'm thinking nobody's voting for champions. I think that one died on the table. Yeah. Okay. Fang Gang, hands up for Fang Gang.
Oh, come on.
I can't. I'll give you points. I keep going. There's parts I really want. Yeah.
I want to fight ghosts, goddammit.
Yeah, but we kind of did that already last game.
I want to fight more.
I'm not going ghost. I promise. It's gonna be much worse. Like I said, body horror. Keep it in mind.
That's why I'm mostly leaning towards Watchmen. But
the next is Cerberus, which I like. Protecting a sacred or important location or item within the city. That died on the table. Moving on.
I don't care about anything enough to protect it.
Questari, you've been sent on a great quest by an important part of the town. You've got to complete it, nobody else.
Yeah. It feels like we're going to work to it.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
We're going to get there.
Aveen, protect the Masquerade. Ensure that humanity never finds out that you people are fucking with your fangs.
I don't care.
Nope. We're all good with that.
Fuck that.
Masquerade's not a priority in this.
Just want to say, Masquerade is literally in the fucking name. It's a little important.
Probably important.
So let me put this in perspective. The reason why the SI is going to be a situation, whether you like it or not, is because every time that the Masquerade is functionally changed, essentially I'm going to give it a 5-dot score. The Masquerade starts at .0, meaning that nothing has happened recently. It probably shouldn't start at 0, but that's what I'm doing. And every time you guys commit something that changes the world, that allows humanity to know just a little bit more about what you guys are doing behind the scenes, the Masquerade score gains. It's broken, and it's broken, and it's broken. And the higher you get up on that score, maybe there's just a few Second Inquisition detectives. The first dot through.
I want to fight those fuckers.
The second a squad comes in past your purview and you've got to take them out. A third, one of your friends is firebombed in the city. A fourth, a major Second Inquisition player comes into play. And fifth, all-out war. Vegas is shut down and you're the enemy.
Yeah,
so GTA, 5 stars.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, 5 star. You better turn on the fucking tank cheat because it's the only way you're gonna live. But so that will come into play regardless of what we do. The next was Watchmen. Votes for Watchmen. Protect from outside supernatural influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Light a werewolf.
Wait,
Okay.
What was it?
Watchmen.
Yeah.
6.
Watchmen has it.
10. Saboteurs obviously is our second.
Yeah.
I think we become saboteurs.
Yeah.
More than one.
Oh yeah, Sabbath.
And Sabiri,
We'll get there.
that's the one where you have a dad.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
You always have a mom. Excuse me.
All right. Well, I just thought maybe we could switch it up.
mommysonly.com.
We'll have a parent.
Don't start starting. Or do.
So Watchmen
we're
to
gonna hit a lot of
Saboteurs.
these.
Yes, it looks like we are starting our world off as watchmen, people who guard the brink of the abyss in Vegas and stop whatever supernatural instances that are. And that does not just include like things that are not vampires. It also includes what vampires are doing to enhance humanity and to bring about terrible, terrible things. So that will come about. That will be a huge point in our sort of investigation there. And then later we'll become saboteurs. Later we will try and overthrow the government, whichever government we decide that is.
All of them.
You know, that's another usual theme for us.
Taking down the big man? Yeah, we love to do that. I'm going to try and make it hard, though. I'm going to try and make you like the big man. I'm going to
like that.
make you try and like both sides.
I like that.
But that's what we're going with. I love this. This is very good. Beautiful. So,
Love it.
middle of the road, Watchmen group going on to Saboteurs. Now, the one thing we'll have to decide, and I think you guys are going to decide this in-game, is who are you Watchmen for? Are you Watchmen for the Anarchs, or are you Watchmen for the Camarilla? Because really, you can't be employed by yourselves if you're Watchmen.
Can we be employed by both? Like they come to us?
Could be. I'm down for that. I'm all for that. It just depends on how we get them to agree to it in the game.
Who's got the most influence, control over the city right now? Like who's in power? Is it more the Camarilla, or is it evenly divided?
So it's evenly divided, but on the surface level. The public perception is that right now the Anarchs are in power. The public perception, and we'll get into that. We'll talk about that after character intros and relationship map. I'll go into like the state of the world and the lore itself. Okay. But the idea is because of what the Anarchs just pulled off, both sides are sort of quaking in their boots. One thinking, oh my God, how are we going to take the city now? The other thinking, how did we let them get away with that? So the public perception is that the Anarchs are in control, but the greater perception is the honest truth of it in talking to any two members is realizing that they're both on equal terms. No one's in control.
I could probably see the Anarchs reaching out because, like, if they've recently secured a foothold in the city, they're going to be the ones having the most vested interest in locking down influence and power as quickly as possible.
I'm cool with either one. I think it would be great for me to be a foreign exchange student in your little Anarch group.
Yeah, I love that.
It's gonna be interesting. I will say, if you're Cam and you're caught hanging out with the Anarchs, if you're Anarch and you're caught hanging out with Cam, it hurts your reputation in a way that loses your head. Okay, let's talk character intros and relationship maps. Okay, the last thing we got to do is introduce our character concepts to each other and see if we want to apply any previous relationships or develop what we're going to see in game. We'll start in alphabetical order. Just give us a spoiler-free introduction to who they are, what their clan is, and how you see them interacting with the group or what role you think they'll fill. This is really just to give us an idea. You don't want to give the cow away. Because a lot of this obviously is going to come out in session 1. We haven't met each other yet, so we don't want to inform ourselves too much, but obviously we want to know who we're palling around with and how that's going to fit into everything we just came up with. So alphabetically, I think we're starting with Aaron. If you want to tell us a little bit about your character.
Damn it!
Double A.
Way.
Triple A storage.
Yep.
Oh, well, go first. My
What's your
guy's
name?
name is Enoch.
Hi, Enoch.
Hi.
Hi, Enoch.
I've been a vampire for what, 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
It's been 2 weeks
Yes,
since
man.
my last drink.
Wow.
Oh.
It's not good.
yeah.
You gotta get a drink.
So the whole kind of like backing force is that this is a guy who was like a like elite Ivy League level theoretical physicist who's on like the cutting edge of quantum dynamics and like extra dimensional mathematics and string theory and shit. And when he became a vampire, all of that like information in his head just exploded his brain. And there's too much in his brain. He knows more about like the universe and the nature of reality than any one person should. And that just kind of broke him.
What's your clan?
He's a Malkavian.
I'm right.
Shut up.
I said that. Did I have to say that?
No. Not after the galaxy broke my brain statement. No.
I know everything.
But I think the way I've been thinking of him is like he's kind of like DC Lucifer meets Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh God.
I love it. I love it.
Written, Bill and I got the biggest lore drop ever.
Yeah.
Love that.
Oh God.
Got
And
it.
what sort of a role do you think mechanically you'll serve in the party?
Well, I think a lot of it is going to be I think social based,
Okay.
maybe like political machinations based. He has some like combat ability, but I see it more at him being like a support character in that sense. But I see his main contribution being in social and political formats.
Awesome. All right. I think we're ready for the other half of this pair.
Why did that feel so awkward? I don't understand.
You're fine, darling.
Fine, babe.
You did good.
Oh, that's me. So I am playing Allison Raguel. I am I'm not going to say the other word, the sire of Enoch.
Now you have to say the other word.
Go ahead.
Mommy.
Fine.
The mommy.
I'm his mommy. Therefore, that's what I'm saying. There is no mommy. That's just me. So,
Oh God.
Allison is actually very opposite of Enoch. She actually was raised in a very wealthy family. Almost think of it like her parents were high up in society. She's lived in London. She's lived in San Francisco. She has an apartment in San Francisco at one point. Like, so you can understand, like, she would move around, is in high circles. But when things happened and she became a vampire, she just knows she had to go to Vegas and kind of stay there. And then because she's like she's actually very well done up. She's kind of like that. How do we describe, like, think like a reality show couple. That's how I'm kind of picturing us two in Vegas, like the Real House. Like I'm talking I Love New York, 2000 era VH1 reality, where she's just like kind of about the drama, but am I the drama? No, I can't be the drama. Like, but kind of loves it. So that kind of like obsessed with celebrity. She is very connected within music, so you will see me kind of like always in a party situation. She's been around for like a year plus. Oh, sorry.
Could you just tell them what we workshopped your
Which
name
one?
as before you?
Oh, basically, this was Tiffany.
Oh God!
Turns.
You have to wear a red dress.
I would have drawn you in a red dress.
I didn't know if it would have been too much, but
It's better this way. It's better this
Yes,
way. It's
it's
just
Tiffany.
for us. It's just for us in the page.
Just so you all know, like Tiffany there. Tiffany's
Tiffany
here.
lives.
And by the way, you did not take 2 weeks to drink. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
He knows. Let me think what else. Yes, over a year, does not know kind of much because she was abandoned. And only thing she knew is like any clue she had was in Vegas.
Yeah.
And is she Malkavian too?
She is Malkavian.
Okay.
And
So then
she has a club.
what role do you think?
That's where it's like, I feel like Aaron and I will maybe take more of a supporting back role for at least this, because they're not going to be like, like they'll do it if they have to. But the thing about
like,
Aaron and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but like the thing is we have stuff like Auspics and like Silence of Death and stuff.
Yes.
Where I think mostly for us it would be like stealth and subterfuge.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if like things come to like physical blows, I don't know how useful we're gonna be.
Amanda is really powerful when it comes to social fights too. Amanda has a lot of like weird Malkavian ability to control another human being. So she will like be a great face character, I think.
I'm a very good puppet master. And I do have, and because of my insanity, my insanity is not as, like, you will see it, I will show it to you. And I don't know if I want to reveal that now.
No, you are good. That was the perfect statement right there.
Okay.
You should really be worried about the Malkavian that doesn't show you what's wrong with them. Okay, moving past my darling Allison Tiffany.
I may just switch it to Tiffany at this point. Why
It's too late.
I'm playing Mal. Mal is a Sombra. So I'm expecting danger for my soul, and that's fine. They're a little bit of a nihilist. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. They... I don't think I want to say any more than that.
That's fine.
They're... I'm getting, like, big teen kid in a sitcom vibes, but, like, teen kid in, like, goth rebel phase.
Riverdale.
Yeah.
I've never seen Riverdale, but probably. Just from like everything I've seen on Tumblr, yes.
Very Jughead, yeah.
Oh,
the world doesn't understand me.
Yeah, for sure. Nihilism again. And I think I'm gonna be like a stealthy person. I don't think I'm a tank this time. I think a lot of stealth and a lot of like weathering situations. Maybe?
Beautiful.
Weathering? What do you mean by weathering?
Yeah, explain.
Stamina?
Yeah, or not
Okay.
stamina. I have a lot in resolve. So just being able to like handle shit, I guess. And I think like observation and stealth are like going to be my two big things. It's just like seeing things and sneaking up on things. Because I got shadow magic.
Yeah, cool.
Which is the reason I picked La Sombra entirely. Caleb said shadow magic, and I said that. And then I learned about things, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, what have I done? So in terms of clans, Malkavians are known very well for being the insane half of the vampire clans. They were cursed with this insanity in their blood the second that they were turned. So they all have some form of derangement to their bodies. But they can also cause derangement in other people. They can manipulate them. They can see into the future. They can see into dreams and portent the future and everything like that. They're all manner fucked up. In terms of La Sombra, La Sombra are the other half of the Ventru, essentially. So the Ventru is the highest of the clans there, or at least they think they are. They're in charge of the Camarilla in most places. The highest members of the Camarilla, odds are they're a Ventru. They're political, business savvy, and all that. The La Sombra are actually like their cousin clans, they call them. The La Sombra used to be highly integrated with the Ventru until they had differing opinions on how the Camarilla should be instated. And the La Sombra basically said, well, fuck you. If you won't let us build an empire, we'll go and build one ourselves. So they infiltrated the Catholic Church and helped form the Sabbat and have become the orchestrators of mass vampire terrorism. And just recently, the Camarilla realized that the Sabbat are in a dying age and said, you know what? We can bring the La Sombra back in. And so Mal is one of the first to be brought back into the fold.
I know nothing about anything. And they're like, hey,
you
come
know
here.
something off of that.
Yeah. and like Leg said, they control shadow magic. They can touch into this thing called Oblivion, which you'll find out about. I think it's Vince next. Letters?
No.
Eli.
Eli,
And Sergio.
I can do
And
things.
Sergio. The second to last person.
You got it. You got it.
Eli?
Yes.
Or as I like to call you, Zeli?
Thank you. I'm playing Niles, and Niles is technically a gangrel. But
That's all.
that's it.
Okay.
I'm technically from the Pacific Northwest, but I will always tell you I'm from the East Coast.
What?
Just keep saying technically. They'll never.
Technically.
Technically.
I'm like, how's that accent
Vampire.
Yeah.
What's the elevator pitch for Niles?
What does Niles technically do?
Niles technically
What's their signs?
complicated. I wrote a very mechanically complicated character. Niles will always kind of look more human than vampire. Like has an actual like tinge of like life to the skin and stuff like that. She's very like meek and mild mannered though. Is kind of withdrawn a little bit towards herself, but always kind of brings like a level of positivity to it. But there's always like an unlikable quality about her through the whole thing. And yeah, that's pretty much Niles. I would say my greatest strength technically is like physical stats with strength and stamina. But she's not necessarily going to be like the first to a fight. And she does have some more of like stealth or like being a face ability, like being sneaky, more roguish-ish type of person.
Meek and
know
unlikable. Got it.
You made a rogue. And I love
You
it.
know that it's like a great vampire character when you can say like nothing about what
True.
anything that they are. Like, and that's happened to like 3 already. Of like, I think that's it.
I don't want to say anything else.
I am Kindred.
I am Kindred, yes.
All right, Zach is next.
Surge is next.
Surge is next.
Acting as Zach, I will go next.
Thank you.
So I am playing a Ravnos, and their name is John Burrows, but I think they are going to prefer to just go by Burrows. That's probably how they'll introduce themselves. The elevator pitch for Burrows is that he's a dude who has seen everything. Like, he's experienced the highest highs that life has to offer, and now in his undeath, like, he's not afraid of anything. Like, he's gonna walk into a room and talk to anybody and shoot the shit and like not be like fear isn't really an issue when you've kind of already seen everything, is kind of the mindset with Burrows. So I think socially he'll be pretty useful. But being a Ravnos, like, there is some chaos. Like, he's gonna be persuaded to cause some chaos, but always, I think, in his mind, it's like justified. I think that's kind of thing. Yeah. So social. He can throw a punch too, but I feel like he's going to be more of a social character.
And real quick, let's like something that Sergio brought up was clan banes. Basically, when he says that he is bidden to cause chaos, that's because of his blood.
Yeah.
So real quick, I will bring up what all of your guys' banes are, just so that we have an awareness of how they work. I know that there's a list.
So
Maybe I have it in the book.
Let the dog out. I'll be right back.
Sure. You know what? I have it right here. Actually, let's just keep going. Vince, do you want to tell us a little bit about your character while I look this up?
I will indeed. So I will be playing Raguel, a member of the Salubri clan, having the third eye in the middle of his dome. My highest attribute is wits. My highest skills are investigation, awareness, and insight. So very much an investigator, very much a person who can, help. Yeah, he's just an investigator. Let's put it that way. While alive, how much should I go into about? I mean, because it's all good. He's gonna be pretty.
What's
open
like
about
the elevator pitch for Raguel? Like.
Yep, investigative journalist in life. Kind of still figuring out his role in death. Has been kept isolated from kindred society by his sire, and is slowly being introduced into it for reasons. So
for reasons.
Yeah, for reasons. Yeah. My clan bane, because I got it written here. People love salubri blood. Kindred loves salubri blood. So anybody who consumes enough of his blood to abate at least one hunger level has to make a hunger frenzy test at a difficulty 2 plus my bane severity. Otherwise, they're gonna fucking drain me. So,
good.
Yeah,
this is great.
Yeah,
it's great news.
The La Sombra, which was Niles, Mal essentially has no reflection. And any chance to use technology in any way is added a +2 to your difficulty score.
Oh, damn.
So if Mal has to touch anything mechanically or anything that has to do with screens, anything like that, they have a +2 difficulty to the roll. They also, on camera, they show up as a shimmer, as like a glitch in the system, which could cause Masquerade issues.
Yeah.
Or also be incredibly useful in the right circumstance.
Sure.
Like security cameras or something.
Sure.
Is there anyone in our group that is good with computers? Because I know that Burrows isn't.
I don't think so. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Enoch is, yeah.
Great.
Enoch's got it covered.
Great.
The Malkavians have their affliction, which is their form of insanity. And they have a -1 to 1 attribute set based on that affliction every time their bane is called into question, or their affliction affects the way that they're interacting. And like we said, the salubri, obviously the third eye bleeds during your discipline. So anytime that Raguel uses a discipline, there will be blood dripping from a third eye in his forehead. And there's a hunger frenzy test. To resist drinking their blood.
Oh, so that's a literal third eye, not figuratively.
Literal third eye.
Thank you. Oh, that took me a minute. I was just like, what?
When you get there, Raguel will describe how his looks. It looks, every salubri has a different third eye on their face. Some have like cat's eyes. Some of them have those weird like goat eyes. Like, whatever it is, he's going to have some spooky eye on his forehead. For the Ravnos, they can never sleep twice in the same locale within 7 days, or they take aggravated burning damage. They're also compelled to take rash, immediate action anytime that their compulsion comes into play. And then Gangrel, Gangrel, you have an animal trait about you that you can't ignore, obviously, and it does not go away after you frenzy. So if you frenzy and you are a bird, Gangrel, you may grow a wing that doesn't go away after the frenzy until you go to sleep. So you may be walking through Vegas trying to hide the big fucking clipped wing you've got on your side.
Or not,
and
if
then,
it's cosplay week.
Yeah, you could just walk through Comic Con.
There we go.
Yeah. And then clan compulsions, which is sort of like what we were talking about, the chaos compulsion. Gangrel get feral impulses. The La Sombra get ruthlessness, meaning that they play the role play of failure is not an option. The Malkavian get a delusion, meaning that your mind and perception is skewed from reality. The Ravnos get tempting fate, which is courting danger and problems. And the Salubri get effective empathy. They're overwhelmed by other people's issues. They cannot see anything other than the emotion of someone else.
The investigative journalist makes sense then.
Yeah. Zach, do you want to tell us about your character?
Yeah. So Sybil is a Gangrel, and she's got a van that she drives around.
Great.
As
a van.
Yeah.
Down by the river.
Yes. I think it's in terms of like coterie role. She's definitely that person that's like not the face, but whispering the names of people to the face of like the people in the room. Yeah, I think she's used to being around parties now. Not quite like Tiffany, but I think she definitely knows where to get the kegs for the party, if that's what you're looking for. Yes.
So you're a party animal. That's right. Oh, that's right. Ayo, yes. I'm owning it.
Disgusting.
It did hurt, but you're not wrong. Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, she kind of looks like, I don't know, she's giving like entry level Zillennial, like intern, unpaid intern. That's her energy.
I love
There was a character on a video game of snowboarding that I played as a child religiously, and you showed me Sybil, and I was like, oh, it's her.
There we go.
We also, we had well, never mind.
I'll show you next time.
Are you talking about what happened between you and I?
Yeah. We were trying to come up with the aesthetic, and we confused people.
We confused a rapper for an NPC in my game.
Yeah.
And I was wholly confused as to how Zach knew the NPC.
Nice.
And it went really wrong.
Nice.
Well, I will bring it up when we get to it in stream.
Okay.
So originally I was thinking of doing the relationship map here, but I'm realizing there's 8 of us. There's a lot of distinction we would have to make between 2 characters. Is basically we'd have to make 16 decisions about these guys right now. I think we can do this outside of session 0 and just come up with it, or even come up with it session 1 and sort of develop after that. So I'm going to skip that for now. But you guys will have a relationship map session 1 that I will show you guys that has all to do with how you guys interact with each other. So there will be an arrow from you to the person on how you feel about them, and from them to you on how they feel about you, and so on and so forth until we've done everyone in the coterie, and then branching out to NPCs that are important to us. So for example, if we had a Mala, if you had a mom, the mom would be placed outside of the coterie circle on that relationship map. And whoever is attached to mom would have 2 arrows out to mom, just sort of defining the relationship there. I know that a lot of this feels like, well, we already know how she feels about us, or we already know how we feel about each other. And that does come into play. And 9 times out of 10, you already know where you stand with that person, so you don't have to look at the relationship map. But it comes into handy when things start to get busy politically. Because let's say Aaron has made this distinction that he really hates the way that Vince's character feeds. And that distinction ends up on the relationship map where Aaron is he hates it, right? Now, someone outside of the realm of the Coterie that wants to get at Vince but doesn't have a way to do it can now use that fact against you guys to talk with Aaron into going against Vince because of the way he feeds, right? That's like a tool in their tool belt. So it helps you guys see what are all the things that Caleb is using against us, and also what are all the things we can use against Caleb. Where are our allies, where are our enemies, sort of thing. Think of it like a risk board, and you're seeing all the chess, the risk pieces of Las Vegas. And we'll have a closer picture of that when we get to session 1 on July 2nd.
I did forget to mention the most important thing. I have a dog.
How did you forget?
What's their name? What do you mean?
What's the
You'll
fur
find
baby's
out.
name?
You'll find out.
Now, are we talking about like a normal dog here, or is it some kind of vampire or hellhound?
No. Totally normal dog.
It's just a dog.
His name is Rufus.
Okay.
Now, technically, I read under animalism that anyone that has a point in animalism can already have like a familiar.
famulus?
Yeah, famulus.
Is that why you have a dog? Is it animalism?
I don't know.
Enoch, can we get a dog?
I thought you were in charge of him.
It's
Right.
a very complex relationship.
Yeah.
Technically, we're both in charge of each other.
It's very true.
Sorry
So,
to derail.
no, you're fine. Dogs are very important. I would be upset if you didn't mention Rufus.
Prince of Vegas.
So I want to talk rules real quick. They're very basic, and I'm just gonna slice down it. In this game, it's just like Orpheus. You're building a pool. The pool is based off of what you already have in your character sheet. So you're going to count up the dots, basically. So I'm going to bring up Niles' a sheet here, and we'll kind of use them as our basis here. You have your attributes and you have your skills. Anytime we do anything in this game, I'm going to ask you to roll an attribute and a skill together. So let's say that you are trying desperately to outpunch the person on the other side, and he's very strong and powerful, but you're fast and quick. Like Niles was described as a rogue, right? So Niles going to be fighting with speed, right? So I may say, as you're trying to dodge around those hits and hit him in the stomach to weaken him as best you can, and you're just lightning jabbing into his stomach there, you're going to combine an attribute and a stat. That'll be your attribute of dexterity and your skill of brawl, right? So then you'll take the dots combined and roll those together. For Niles, it's dexterity and brawl, which would be a pool of 6.
Nice.
Feel free to look at your character sheets now and find out for yourselves, and just kind of get an idea of what you would be rolling for yourself. And then you can do a practice roll. I know I said don't have dice, so we don't really have to if you don't have them out in front of you. I realized I was foolish to think we wouldn't need dice.
I listened to you and I did not, so you know what?
Well, that's okay.
That's my fault.
No, it's not your fault. It's mine. So with that pool of 6, I'm just going to do a run-through roll for Niles here. And they got a 10, an 8, a 3, a 5, and a 3, right? So in terms of vampire, anything that is a 6 on the die or higher, 6 or higher is a success. Anything 5 or lower, fuck all. Don't even look at the fucking thing. So for us, we only got 2 successes on this pool of 6. Now 2 is like a moderate success. If this was a moderate difficulty, if this was a mortal who doesn't really know how to fight, it'd be really easy to win this. We'd say, okay, 2 is a total win. You get to deal damage to the guy now. If it was like a vampire, it may be 3 or 5 or whatever it is, but you're trying to beat the DC with the amount of successes you got. So if the DC is 4, you need to roll 6 or higher 4 times to win. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You all
So
got that?
Orpheus, the DC is what you need to roll in order for it to be a success. In
Right.
Vampire, it's how many successes you get.
Yes, you're accumulating successes to beat the roll. If you get a DC of 4, you need to roll above 6 4 times.
And I read in the book that you can burn willpower on a normal failure to re-roll it.
Yes, so you have a willpower stat. It should be right there on your sheet, right under health. If that hasn't been filled out, let me know, because I can give you the stat for doing so. For example, Niles has 4 points at the start of our game, right? So they can burn one of those willpower points, and they come back after a night, basically. You regain them each night. But they can burn one of them to re-roll 3 dice that are not hunger die. Okay? So if you are fully fed and you've got no hunger in your pool, you can re-roll 3 of your dice just like that. Now, when I say hunger die, that's something I can go into now. What you should do when you're playing this game is probably have 2 sets of D10s, one of which you roll normally, and the other you only roll when you're hungry, okay? Hunger die represent how, when was the last time that your character had blood? Blood is how we do everything in this game. And the hunger die reflects just how badly the beast inside wants you to feed. So the hunger die will replace normal die on your pool. So if you have a pool of 6, but a hunger of 2, 2 of these normal dice need to become hunger dice. The only difference that this really means mechanically is, 1, you can't use willpower to re-roll them. So if those go bad, they just go bad. There's nothing you can do about them. And 2, if you have absolutely no successes and hunger die, you go into what is called a bestial failure. And a bestial failure is like a natural 1 in this game. It means that not only did you fuck up royally, you also let your beast take over. And now the beast is going to compel you. That's either to make the most chaotic decision in Sergio's point of view, or it's to compel the bane, or it's to compel the hunger and you go into frenzy potentially. There are a couple of different things that come into that. So if you've ever got hunger die and you roll a total failure, you're in trouble, okay? Now there are also crits. A crit in this game are 2 10s. If you ever get 2 10s, they amount to 1 crit, and that counts as 4 successes. So 2 10s is 4, not 2, if that makes sense. 2 10s gets you 4 successes.
But 1 10 doesn't mean anything.
1 10 is just
it's
one
just
success.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so the hunger dice, they come up to it. If you fail, you get a compulsion. If you crit while you have hunger dice, then you do what's called a messy crit. You succeed fantastically, but it's farther than the beast you would like to go because of the beast. So for example, if you crit in this dexterity fight with this guy we were just talking about, maybe the hunger inside of you causes that messy critical, and instead of punching him in the gut, you rip his gut free and he dies right in front of you. But you're in a crowd, and now people have seen you just disembowel this guy in front of everyone. And now you've got new complications because you did so well, right?
Gotta call me up.
Yeah. The other thing I just want to talk about real quick is damage and healing. You take superficial damage or aggravated damage. Think like superficial is like a half damage. It doesn't really actually affect you until it starts to become aggravated, and the only way it becomes aggravated is by filling your entire health bar with half damage, right? Then it becomes full aggravated damage. If your health bar becomes completely filled with aggravated damage, you are sent into torpor or you die. That's that, basically. You had a question, Vince?
No, I'm good. I found the reference with the vampire die, with the onks and the skulls and stuff.
Beautiful. Yeah, if you guys want dice, there are vampire dice as well as blood dice sold on the World of Darkness website that will tell you exactly what the bestial failures are and all that good stuff.
They look like this. They look like you got the skull there, and then the onks and stuff.
I think some of us know about blood bonds. We don't have to go over that. There is a frenzy. If you go into a hunger frenzy, that's essentially you're so hungry that now your body is no longer your own. It is different difficulty checks that I'll give you that you'll have to roll against, and it's basically willpower versus a third of your humanity. So the more you lose your humanity, the harder it is to keep the beast in check. And those frenzies basically let me take over for a while, and I will do the most appropriate to your bane. Moving forward, what else? Extreme cold, very dangerous to you. Walking in daytime is a fucking life threat for most people. A staking either will slow you down or cause you to go into what's called torpor, meaning that you go into like a vampire coma for forever. Fire is immediate aggravated health damage. So bullets, you can take a bunch of bullets and be fucking fine. But if you were to be hit with a flaming crossbow bolt, that is immediate aggravated damage. The beast is terrified of fire. It also prompts a frenzy test if we're running into something like that.
Lego's got something to say.
Yeah, what's up?
Does running water hurt you like it does in D&D?
No. Okay. Running water, you're all good. Running water is a myth unless you took the running water disadvantage.
Which is the same as like the church one and like the counting rice one and all that, right?
Yeah. Okay. If you took those, they do affect you. If not, you're totally fine. That is like it's like psychosomatic almost in Vampire Society. There's this thing called true faith we may run into. Mm-hmm. True faith is an individual that actually believes whatever spirituality they have in their life. And it has nothing to do with whether God is real or not. It has everything to do with whether they believe God is real or not, or whether they believe something about their life is true. So if they are the most Buddhist person in the world, or if they believe that freedom is so very important, they are embroiled with this sort of power that can effectively kill vampires just by their mere presence. So if you run into someone that makes you feel particularly weird or evasive or wards you away, it may be that they have a thing called true faith. What else do we need? The order of combat is close combat, ranged combat, new close combat, and then other combat. That's how we always do it. Start close, then whoever's shooting from range, then whoever just joined the fray, and then whatever else we have to deal with.
So it's not initiative, it's just based on position?
There is initiative, but it's rolled at the beginning, and then it's in that order. So whoever has the highest initiative in close combat goes first.
Oh, okay.
Then highest initiative in ranged combat, and so on and so forth.
And how do we roll initiative?
It is either composure plus resolve, dexterity plus awareness, or resolve plus awareness, and it depends on the situation. Some of that, like composure and resolve, is usually for like a social encounter. Or wits and etiquette also plays into social, right? And all these things I'm going to give you a reference sheet for and everything. I mean, I think this is about it, honestly. How you define damage, essentially, is you put your pool against theirs, and whatever is left over from the successes is how much damage you've done to the other person. So if they dodge you, and you have 4 successes, they have 2 successes on their dodge, then they take 2 damage, because that's the leftover. It's that easy.
So there's like a built-in soak to that.
Yeah, exactly. And there are also soak rolls. There are some other things that you can do to embody or take care of those things.
Cool.
There is a couple powers you have in the blood that I want to tell you about real quick, and then we can end for the day. Let me find where they are. Sorry, 1 second.
So wait, who's my most chaotic motherfucker I gotta be mindful of?
You.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, probably you two are going to be probably
Is it
followed
wrong
by
that
me
I seriously
afterward.
looked at like Zach and Serge immediately? I was looking because you guys are stacked on top of each other on my screen.
I'll be relatively chaotic.
I literally was just like, it's these two. It's these two.
Zach's a chaos sleeper agent, and we all know it.
Yeah.
Aaron and I, that's like the obvious answer, but let's be for real. That's where I'm like, nah, you're gonna try to.
I'm here to help you guys have a good campaign.
I believe so.
Last thing about these rules, and then we can call it a day. There are 3 actions you can do that really help you out. One is called a blood surge. You would take a dice equal to your blood potency in 1 attribute roll per turn, basically. So you could enhance an attribute you're not very good in by surging the blood, basically, rousing yourself up to get yourself ready. All it costs is a rousing check. And what a rouse check is, if I ever ask you for that, you roll 1d10. If you succeed, you do not gain hunger. If you fail, you gain hunger. That's it. That's also what you may need to do for your discipline. For example, to dominate someone, you may have to do a rouse check. You roll 1 die. If it's above 6, you don't get hungry. If it's below 6, you do get hungry. No matter what, it succeeds. No matter what, you get to roll your dice. It's not like a pass or fail thing. Whether it's strong enough to beat the other person, that's a different story. But it always happens, regardless. And then there's Blush of Life. You can do a rouse the blood check to make yourself appear human. Like you have a heartbeat, you can sweat, you can have sex, you can use smartphones, you can interact with the world in a way you normally can't. And then the last is you can do a bite attack during combat, which would be grappling or strength plus brawl. And then if you basically lose 1 dice because it's difficult to do, but if you succeed, you can slake hunger and cause 2 aggravated damage to your target. Any questions on any of that bullshit?
Good rundown.
A lot of this is going to come up in game. A lot of this is going to be fly by night as we go through that first session. And I sent both of these little rules references into our Vegas by Night chat so that we can get into it. If you guys have any questions, if you want to talk characters, if you want to talk about our origin sessions and what comes next, reach out to me because we got a lot of time before July 2nd when this thing pops off. Are there any questions about anything about this game at this current spot?
When do we start?
July 2nd, baby.
All right.
July 2nd, baby.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
Very excited.
So excited.
This is it.
And
guys.
I will see you. I'll see what time tomorrow, Caleb?
I'm thinking same time as long as that works for you.
Works for me.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Perfect.
I sent you a
coming
message.
Let's send it off for our Patreons who
Yes.
are watching.
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we're meeting.
Thank you, patrons, for watching. Hopefully this was insightful and you got a little taste of what this game is going to be.
And there's more stuff. We'll have some one-on-one sessions that we'll also share on Patreon. So
We'll
thanks for joining us.
Also be throwing up the relationship map once we put it together ourselves with sort of an awareness of where we start in Vegas on session 1.
Hell yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop recording.
Bye.
Perfect. Bye, guys.
Bye.